out that it was just a drug, you know? And then, afterwards you're still you know? And you have to deal with all the changes.
It's like finding out, like when you're a kid, there's a lot of things to do, and you're growing, and life doesn't seem so burdensome. It doesn't seem to me as it does when you reach a peak where finally you realize you're not going anywhere and there's nothing to do. You know?
Yeah, that great
Awakening,
quest for the Holy Grail.
I don't know.
Grail.
I have a feeling inside of me that, like, I believe that the most natural, the least think of anything, moderation, whatever. I have a feeling inside of me that, like, I believe that the most natural, the least, is the best of anything, moderation, whatever. But it seems like any kind of medicine or drugs that I do, I really don't want to be doing them. Where I really want to be is pure, without the drugs.
Yeah, because it's a better high.
True, but I don't think that makes it any easier, because then there's just more to do to evolve, to get to do better and more and higher than
but
the last minute.
No, but that's what's being learned, I think, is that doesn't exist. There is no better. You know? I mean, what could be better than being what you are? Because you surely get better that way. I mean, like, see...
And drugs take you there.
But that's just it, and I don't think drugs do take you there.
But they do.
They show it to you, but they don't take you there.
Okay, they don't take it. But they show it to you.
Oh, you see it. But it's like they're all high. You know?
No. Some are better than others.
I don't, when you're high, you know? It's just, well, no, you're right. Some are better than others. Right. The natural ones seem to be better.
High?
You know? I don't know. But I mean, how you get there makes a difference.
High makes it sound like...
No, a natural one, if you don't have to come down from quite the same way.
What do you mean?
Well, you don't have to take another dose to stay up.
Right, it's internal.
Right.
It's what you don't eat rather than what you do eat.
Yeah.
You know, in a way.
Sure.
Well, do you know what I mean?
Yes. What you don't eat, what you do eat.
It's like not eating plastic foods. You know? Caring for your body a little bit. You know? Loving it.
Right. So they are
all of that.
But I guess I think that should be, you know, like that gets the gold star for being the best high. You know, but it's hard to do.
Maybe I'm wrong, or maybe they're right. I don't know, but my opinion is that
It's
they're wrong
hard.
and I'm right.
For me.
We do have a serious drug problem in this community. Or, it's all cool, baby.
See, that's the kind of thing that's the way I feel. And that's what's going to happen. I don't know how to not put it on the record. I don't know how to make it non-biased except to say that's the way I feel. You know? And if it isn't joyous and light, because ecstasy isn't joyous and light.
It's not the joyous and light. It's the difference you start out saying with Albert, which is there is a serious drug problem in the community, or it's all cool.
Right.
You start out with that, and then it seems I don't hear much more of the it's all cool.
Nobody.
To tell you.
Oh, nobody.
Nobody rapping about just the pleasant times and the very
Well,
gentle.
What pleasant times?
What pleasant times? Like getting very stoned and sitting around the table and everybody just having themselves a beautiful food orgy, and the interaction. That's all part of that high, that stone.
Wow. Because I sort of look at that like, well, the drug-crazed hippies, you know? I mean, that's
yeah,
the way
but
I
that's
look
because
at
we
it.
live it. You know, we live it and we're so close to it. There's that too that has to be shown if you're showing a complete picture.
Wait a minute.
Like the three of us sitting down here, too.
Having a
Just
stone
sitting
grab.
here. Yeah.
But
Expressing ourselves to each other, and I don't think we all know exactly what we're telling each other, you know? But we can feel the difference in tone throughout.
The personality is one who's acting in a sociopathic manner, one who is not conforming, at least to some degree, and one who is just acting like a lunatic, one who acts, you know, like he's bored or depressed or frustrated, from one end of the spectrum to the other, introversion or extroversion.
Well, eventually got to a point where Mondays I wasn't waking up. Monday nights I was tired, I couldn't play, even though I slept all day. And got to the only way I could get through, and Sunday became more and more hectic, you know, so the only way I could get through Sunday, man, was just to take something, a very small dosage, just to get rid of the cramps. And it did. And then, which made Monday pretty bitch, you know. So I decided to take just a little on Mondays, you know. And then it worked from there gradually, blah, blah, blah. And then I found out that there were only 7 days in a week.
Doesn't
You
leave
know?
a day to crash, huh?
Yeah, right. I didn't leave a day to crash eventually.
You know, I smoked a lot of grass and I popped a lot of pills now, yeah. Yeah, but I never touched nothing that my spirit couldn't kill now. Yeah, but I've seen a lot of people with tombstones in their eyes. If they don't get their heart stuck, you know they're gonna die. God damn the pusher. God damn the pusher. God damn the pusher, man. You know the dealer was a man with love grass in his hand. Hey, but the pusher is a monster and not a natural man. You know the dealer take a nickel, give ya lots of fine dreams. Hey, but the pusher take your body and leave your mind to scream. God damn the pusher. God damn the pusher. Man. Now if I were the president of this land, I'd declare total war on the pusher, man. Oh, I'd cut him if he stands and I'd shoot him if he runs. I'd kill him with my razor and my Bible and my gun. God damn the pusher.
see if we're in agreement on this point, namely that there is no youngster who is not susceptible to heroin addiction if that youngster uses.
Well, when we talk about addiction too, Reverend, we also have to conclude or assume that there are two addictions. One is psychological and one is physical.
And after he got off, I just picked up the works and got myself off and proceeded to do so about every 15 minutes all night because I really dug it.
Anybody that's knowledgeable about heroin abuse, for example, will know about bitches that there are only one or two tolerance drugs, and heroin happens to be one of them.
That's because the first day I didn't do any. And then the second day I got downtown to my store and I couldn't, like I tried to walk around a little, and if I walked a block I felt like I'd walk 10, and I wasn't prepared. I didn't know it was going to be like that, you know. I was really kind of naive about it.
It isn't like having the flu.
No. That's like a mild, getting over a mild habit is a lot like that. Your nose runs and your body aches. The worst thing, man, is like at night you're lying down and you've got to keep moving your muscles. You keep clenching your fists. You get up and you walk around the room, and you could probably run for 10 miles and still have to run some more, even when you couldn't move, because your muscles cannot be still. They're just constantly crying out to be moved around, you know, and rubbed against each other and stretched, and it's impossible to satisfy that feeling until, I guess it's just working it all out, just like you would knead dough or something. You know, your muscles are kneading themselves until they worked all of this shit out. But there's like just nothing you can do to stop it.
The common misconception among new addicts is that they think, well, they'll use it while they're enjoying it, and then when they get such a big habit or they get to the point where they don't enjoy it anymore because they're not getting high anymore, then they think they can kick. Well, the word kick ought to be eliminated from the drug addict's dictionary because there's no such thing as kicking.
I know this one person who's a really heavy junkie, who's 30, 40 bag a day man, and he, I see him and I get really sick. It revolts me because it's just so disgusting. It's so mechanical. You know, he doesn't have any joy anymore in getting off. It's like a mechanical thing. Sticks the needle in and he gets off, you know, and then 10 minutes later he'll take another shot, and it's mechanical. You know, there's no joy out of it.
But unfortunately,
he's like Americanized.
There's no cure for
he's
it.
Americanized himself, because that's what America's all about.
As you
like
know, the addiction
mechanical,
cure
no
rate
feeling,
is less than 1%.
you know,
People who want to
desensitized
enter
society.
treatment facilities of whatever kind prior to methadone maintenance, only 1% could ever stop using heroin. Of course, they are addicted to methadone, but
heroin is a rather interesting drug. I'm not quite sure why it has become as notorious as it has. It's one of the most effective, naturally occurring anesthetics, general anesthetics that there is. If something is really hurting you, it will completely remove that, whether that something is mental or physical.
It's even supposed to be better than morphine.
It is definitely better than morphine. It's a chemical refinement of morphine, which is about 10 times more powerful.
yeah, one drug addict really put it beautifully, is that heroin is love, you know, heroin is, it loves me. Really just put it beautifully. I don't know if she had been reading Burroughs before that or something, but it really just fills every need, every loneliness.
Now, heroin withdrawal, on the other hand, is very little worse than a very bad case of flu. I have never tried heroin myself. I have enough close friends who have tried it so that I am intimately acquainted with its effects.
I did it for a week once, and I got to where I'd like it, and then I said, well, all right, so that's where that's at.
You got to where you like it, in other words, you didn't like it.
Well, I got to where I knew if I stayed there anymore, I'd start doing it, you know.
It all depends on how much you're doing. Like if you got a 3-bag-a-day chippy, it's like having a super case of the flu. Not really. I was only chipping. You know.
What's
the
chipping?
chippy is like a small habit. It's more like a psychological addiction.
But the heroin epidemic is just exactly that. It'll reach its peak, like any contagious disease, without a cure, and then it'll just plateau off and decline after that. Unfortunately, those who get this disease won't get over it.
And then it becomes a very hard thing to get out of because it becomes a complete lifestyle. It's not a part-time job. It's a 24-hour type of existence that happens.
It's like an all-encompassing, encompassing, glowing womb, you know.
Well,
it's like coming all over.
At first it's just that feeling, and then it becomes something else altogether. You know, then it becomes a physical thing, where all of these, if you could imagine everything inside your body being little arrows pointing towards the front of your body, you know. What you do when you take heroin physically to your body is it reverses those arrows. So there's certain blood things, and there's certain, I don't understand the details, but there's, It feels like that there are these big arrows in your body, and then if you try to give up dope, you know, if you just don't, or if you're really into it and you don't even try to give it up, you just can't score any or something, those arrows start that trip back to where they were before you started, facing in the right direction. And it's painful as they rip through your body, coming back, you know. It's really like arrows twisting inside, and until they do get back front, it'll be very painful. You know, including some pretty heavy, really wicked vomiting sessions. Just like if the toilet becomes your god, you know, you kneel down in front of it and embrace it and puke into it for 4 or 5 hours straight, even when there's nothing left to puke. And that's a bad trip. People should never have to go through that. And it's not worth it, because you never get anything done while you're on a smack anyhow.
It's a mental state that's there. It's an awareness of something that's possible to attain at any time.
You get your smack if you're hooked. You'll get it. You'd be surprised how fast it can really screw up a person. You know? I mean, you know, your wife, your best friends, doesn't mean anything, and you can't blame the person. It doesn't do any good to. You know, you can have your father break in your apartment some night, or your mother, you know, or your sister, or some of your blood, you know, and taking all of your equipment out, chairs, platters, anything they can sell at a hawk shop or something. It could happen to people that are, if they don't have the bread. Because I had $900 when I started out, which I was going to save and buy some land with and everything. And the whole $900 went down my nostrils.
Yeah.
Anything.
You know,
start doing
you
anything
have
for
to,
smack.
you can't, there's nothing that's going to help you want to stop. Nothing in the world. No amount of dear beloveds telling you that you're fucking up your head, and by that you're fucking up their head. That doesn't mean anything to you anymore, you know, like, because you've already given that up anyway. You know, you've given everything up, you really have.
Giving up smack.
Given everything up, you really have.
Was something I didn't really ever believe I'd do. And it was just too good to, it was too appealing just by sniffing it that I couldn't imagine shooting it. I just didn't think I'd ever get out of it. And I always maintained that I could give it up at any time when I was doing it, see. Maybe that's almost like a cigarette smoker. But I like to tie the whole smack thing into gambling, because I don't think there's any difference. Really, I think the difference is just a chemical, it's a physical difference. One's a dope and the other's whatever it is involved with gambling. But every gambler can give up at any time, you know. And gambling is much heavier than any other kind of dope, I think. Much heavier than alcoholism. It's much heavier than an addicted gambler. There's a guy there isn't a chance in 2,000, or probably more than that he'll ever get away from it.
Mr. Ingersoll, several months ago, Dr. Donald Luria, president of the New York State Council on Drug Addiction, said that within a couple of years, every high school and every college in the country will be inundated with heroin. Do you consider the heroin situation, heroin which is a very dangerous drug, do you consider the situation that bad in our schools?
I think it's that bad in some of our metropolitan areas. It's claimed that that situation already exists in New York. However, I think it would take a considerable amount of time for it to reach 100% of our schools throughout the country.
Yeah, and I knew that I was off of smack, and I don't think I really knew it before that point. And I've had chances since. I don't think I'll ever do any more smack. I don't see any unless I really want to do myself in. Yeah. Then I think maybe I'll just start doing all the smack I want. And that'll, you know, be like, that's given up. That'll be my final gesture. You know, I won't want anybody to listen to me anymore. I don't want anything nice around me. I don't want any kind of happiness, you know. I just want to do smack and
Doesn't it make you feel happy?
yeah, but it's yeah. It does make you feel happy, but you can't be on smack all the time.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but our time is up. We'll be back with you in just a minute after this message.